Good morning and welcome to Explore Within Coaching. I'm Oceana. Before I got on to this video today, I thought about many different topics that we could talk about. And so instead, I'm just going to kind of spitball it. So I have no idea where this is going to go, and welcome to the ride. The first thing that came up for me was about forgiveness. And I know that I talked in my last video about I forgive myself, which is an extremely powerful healing tool for coming to full forgiveness of yourself for everything that has happened in your life. I do truly believe that that is where our healing begins and ends, is with us forgiving ourselves. But that kind of led me to this feeling of, well, what about forgiveness for another? What does that actually mean? Does it mean that it's okay what they did? No. Does it mean that we accept what they've done and we're going to just invite them back into our lives? Absolutely not. Forgiving another has actually nothing to do with the other. And I learned this with my dad, actually. Prior to him passing, we've had this relationship. I mean, like most people, I grew up having daddy issues. My parents got divorced when I was young. My dad wasn't around. When he was around, I didn't feel loved, blah 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 blah. All of the story that I used to tell myself. And then as an adult, I got to meet my father. And not the man that I thought he was supposed to be, but the man that he actually was. I got to let go of all of my expectations of him. I was able to forgive him for all the things that I felt that he had wronged me as a child. Now, I said that I forgave him. Not once did I ever sit down with him and say, look, man, I forgive you. You screwed up, but I'm going to let that go. The conversation was never even had with him. I forgave myself for having the expectations. And I forgave him for not knowing what those expectations were and not being able to live up to them. And even when we tell ourselves that we've been very clear as to what our expectations are, they're still our expectations. They have nothing to do with the other. And my forgiving my father for all the hurts that I felt as a result of our relationship had nothing to do with him and everything to do with me. Because it wasn't until I was able to forgive him for the wrongdoings that I feel he had, that I was able to love and accept him for who he was. That I was able to create this beautiful relationship with this man that I had such deep, profound love for. But for as long as I held on to all of the wrongdoings and all of the hurts and all of the pains, I could not accept him for who he was. Now, I mentioned my father passed, and it was a beautiful passing. I won't speak for the rest of my family members because everybody's at their own state in their journey. But for me, as I sat with him and rubbed his back, I was able to release him with full love for who he was. And not for anything I thought he should be. And there was this peace that happened in me, and I know it happened in him. There was this surrender that happened in our relationship. And so being able to spend that time with him, to be there while he transitioned into the great known, I want to say unknown, but I don't believe it is unknown. The universe is completely known. It's just how far we're open to accepting that knowing that we limit ourselves. So yeah, forgiving him actually allowed for me to develop an amazing relationship with him. So that brings me to forgiving where there is no relationship. And this was extremely powerful for me when it came to forgiving past relationships with individuals that I was dating, etc. And being able to forgive them for not being what I wanted them to be. That's right, I said it. Not being what I wanted them to be. I have great love for pretty much every person in my past. simply because they were here to teach me something. Whether I learned that lesson in that moment or whether it took me many years to get to that lesson, they were here to teach me something, and I'm grateful for that. And I look at the relationship that I had with my son's paternal father, and we had a very rocky relationship. Upon us separating, there were years of stalking that happened, years of fear being, so much fear. I don't even want to get into the story of it because it's really not important. What's important is that as an adult, as somebody who has grown in myself, I had to forgive him in order to love my son even fuller. And I know that sounds weird, that I had to forgive his father in order to love my son even fuller. But the reality was, or is, I forget was, it is my son's father is a part of him. And as long as I'm not forgiving his father for all the shit he did, all the shit he put me through and put my son through, I'm actually not loving my son fully. Now, I do not have a relationship with my son's father. I don't actually see a world where I'm even open to inviting him back into my life. I don't feel that it would be a healthy decision for me, myself, or my son, or even for my son's father. So I forgive him. I forgive him for stalking me. I forgive him for making my life a miserable hell for 3 years. And I'm grateful to him because I learned how to be a stronger person. I learned how to be able to pack up and go in a moment's notice. I learned how to protect my son more fiercely. I learned how to protect myself more fiercely. So yes, I forgive him for all the shit. But it does not mean that I want him in my life. It just means that I'm letting go of the control that he still had on me. I'm letting go of any residue tentacles. I like the word tentacles. I'm letting go of those tentacles. I'm cutting them off and I'm being me fully. Because I'm no longer being held by another. I'm no longer being held by a situation. I can now freely walk down the street and not fear for my safety or for the safety of my child, who in fairness is now an adult. That was huge. That being able to let go, that being able to stand up in my own power and say, no, enough. I am the master of my being. You don't actually get to have any part of that any longer. I forgive you for the shit you pulled. I even understand where you were coming from. No, I do not want you in my life. I wish you well. I wish myself well. Okay, so apparently I was going to just stick to forgiveness today. I encourage you to look at angers that you're holding on to. And how is that anger actually serving you? How is it empowering you to lead a fuller, happier life? And if the answer is it's not, then hon, you need to let go. You need to forgive yourself. And you might even need to forgive another. Again, that's not an invitation for them to come back into your life and to hurt you deeper. But forgive them for what they have hurt you with to date. You're going to find your freedom in that. It has nothing to do with them. Absolutely nothing to do with them, and 100% everything to do with you. If you're looking for somebody to talk to who might be able to help navigate you through this forgiveness process, I'm here for you. In the meantime, be good to one another, stay safe out there, and love yourself a little more each day.